Look here, you little rascal. Flat. Chested bitch. I don't even know why I said that. No one's flat chested these days. Man, woman, dog, cat, parakeet. More like paraphrase. Keet. If I had a pet parrot, I think maybe someone like me probably needs a pet parrot or a parakeet. You know, the ones that repeat themselves. Little Toucan Sam. Except hopefully I don't become a Fruit Loop. The endless cycle of living in a simulation. Because that's what a Fruit Loop is. If a fruit lives in a simulation, I guess it is a Fruit Loop. And fruit poops. Well, most fruit, when you pull it out, it comes from poop. You know, I think, what is it? What's the one? Is it dragon fruit or dungeon fruit? One of those weird shit that you would get in the middle of the Amazon. It literally grows by, you know, wild animal poop, you know. It's kind of odd how our pooping system works here. I don't know how I got down this road. Of all things, we have designed a toilet that goes underground. And for animals, we just put it in plastic containers, or we just have them go in condensed spaces. Why do we make something that is supposed to be very vulnerable, sometimes painful, sometimes enjoyable? Why do we do it in the most cramped of spaces? Why are bathrooms so cramped? Why are kitty litter or dog litters so cramped when it's the one thing we need the most space in? The space between. I actually found out a fact that, I don't know if it's a fact, but I saw a video on a social media, so it's facts. Apparently, from an alien's point of view, maybe the reason why they have not truly contacted us is because they don't feel our planet is formed yet. Because apparently they live like, and the way the solar system works, we have sent, I don't know how, we've only been sending out radio signals since 1974. I guess because that's when radio was invented, but that's not true. Radio was invented a long time before that. But apparently since 1974, we can send radio signals out, you know. And the way the solar system works, you ever heard the term light years away? I really don't understand it. They'll be essentially they're like 63 billion light years or something like that, depending on how the solar system works. So if, let's just say, there's 63 billion light years away, they may still think there's dinosaurs on Earth. Or if it's like 95 billion light years away, then there may not even be an Earth, you know, in their eyes, you know. But then there's theories that there are people walking around that are aliens disguised as humans. It's a theory. And I don't think that's something nice to call ugly people. Maybe that's really what Scooby-Doo, you know? Scooby-Doo Monsters Unleashed. You know how they say movies try to tell you the real, you know? There's messages because Hollywood has the real info. They'll tell you, like, something will be in a movie or like The Simpsons. And then 18 years later, that exact thing happens exactly how it was displayed. So maybe Scooby-Doo, people turning into, you know, monsters, ghouls, as they call it, on Skull Island or Monsters Unleashed. Maybe really that's foreshadowing to what they're talking about with aliens. But I would just say, if it's true, I don't care what people say. I think we would have seen it by now. Like, legitimately on camera, a person just completely skinned down like Men in Black, going from, working at the post office to all of a sudden looking like a cockroach, It's like they say lobsters. They say lobsters are the roaches of the sea. Well, I feel like aliens would be the same. So yeah. And what's crazy is you would think aliens would be extremely strong. Why do we always make aliens look like scrawny little bitches, Please don't come after me. But yeah, apparently, that's just a theory. Light years. Still don't really know what that means. Is it the speed of light? The speed of sound? Either way, it sounds like light work. Oh, Woody's Roundup. Which is, it's kind of odd how Buzz really became friends with Woody when really, wouldn't Woody be more of an alien than Buzz? Because think about it. Why is there a movie called Space Cowboys? Woody's a cowboy, right? If Woody's a cowboy, wouldn't he be a space cowboy? And what's Buzz? Just a random ass dude? Purple? He's basically Barney in a spacesuit, Oh. The color purple. If Whoopi Goldberg played Buzz. Oh, yeah. But, any woo-hoo. Yeah. I guess the moral of all that is... The moral of all that is... The moral of all that is... Be an alien. An illegal alien. Or legal. It is odd how we have citizenship quizzes and tests, but most people that were born and bred here, should it be a requirement that like every 5 years you have to take a citizenship quiz or test to maintain the benefits of being an American citizen? For some reason, we think just because people like you were born here, that all of a sudden that you're entitled to something, right? It's kind of odd. Look, I'm not into... I don't try to get in the border crisis. I don't try to get into politics, I don't try to get into third world country stuff or people trying to find a better life. It is odd how the number one argument against people coming into America is they don't know the language. They don't, they're not really trying to adapt to tradition here. They're just they don't want to learn this. They just want to they just want to live here for free and take our tax dollars and all this shit. It's like, but you want to live here, but not actually learn about the history or not actually have to worry about nothing. You think just because you were born in Missouri that all of a sudden you deserve more of a right than someone who wants to come here and do more in life than you. It's weird, It's just kind of an odd argument. It's odd that in America we want to talk about being not entitled, working hard for everything. But then you don't want the rest of the, you don't want people from the outside coming in and being a part of that culture. You want to only have that for people that you're comfortable having that, you know? So yeah. Yep. I don't know. It just seems like the obsession with immigration or deportation or how this stuff works. It's odd. It's an odd thing to sit around and think about. It's an odd thing to really give a shit about what's happening in pro-Palestine or anti, yeast infection. I feel like a lot of these protest rallies are just one big yeast infection waiting to happen. I'm gonna be honest, I don't feel like a lot of these, based off the extreme videos I've seen, I feel like a lot of these ladies that are pro this or anti this at these protests, I don't feel like they clean themselves that well. I don't know. It just feels like they want to get around a bunch of people that don't really smell that good so they can hide the fact that they don't smell that good. I've never met a good smelling lady that was, for something, that was trying to make a difference in the world. They always smell odd, because there's always this virtuosity that comes with it. Yeah. Yeah, and if you're always out, intense and always sweating from the stress of, getting beat and shit, you're not going to smell that great. I don't know where I'm going with this, but yeah. Welcome to episode 282 of the Often Be Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Recording this at 2:30 a.m. Eastern on June 16th. Damn, today's Father's Day. Oh, shit. 2024. But yeah. Another great day at the office. In this hot, sweaty-ass office. As I was talking about, it's, I don't really feel like a lot of people that say they care about stuff really care about it. I don't really feel like, I think a lot of people want to feel a part of something. They want to feel like they're doing good. Everyone wants to be a part of something good. No one wants to be behind something that represents something bad. But sometimes it's okay to be like, I'm not behind this, but I'm not against it. I just don't really have enough attachment to really give too much of a shit. But you know what people will say? If you're not for something, you're against it. They will say that if you're not a part of the solution, you're a part of the problem. And sometimes being a part, not a part, but a part, meaning being separated from something, makes you actually part of the solution, because it's staying the fuck out of the way of shit you don't really know or give a shit about. Like, you can't care about everything because people pressure you to care about it. When it comes to, I don't know, like this, anything that requires protesting wars or something, like the stuff that's going on out there. It's like people kind of force you to have a thought. People force you to have an opinion about something. It's like, I barely have an opinion about what bananas I like. Pause. It's like, I don't have time to think and have a feeling about all these issues. It's beyond overwhelming. It's legitimately just whelming. You know, it's weird. There's a word overwhelming, meaning like something's too much, or underwhelming, like, ugh. I was very disappointed from you. Then there's whelming. Is it midwhelming? Is it whelming? It's like, it was a whelming performance. I've never heard that. Meaning, it was average, or it was good performance. You know? I've never, like, it's something like overwhelming, underwhelming. What's the middle ground? Is it melming? But yeah, it just, I don't know why people always feel, it always kind of feels like you don't care about issues if you're not for, or you don't have a strong thing against it. And I think where all this inspires from, right? Like, you know, going to just everyday things you enjoy. There's always this stuff on the news. And just watch, like, sometimes, you know, I look up at the TV and I'm just watching. And really, the other day, being at the gym, looking up at the different news networks, I don't know why, and I've talked about this before, I don't know what's with gyms wanting to have news networks on. Like, when I work out, I don't want to, the number one thing I don't want to see is, you know, why Fannie Willis's lover boy is under oath. I really don't care. I don't care about the Fulton district attorney and her love life. I don't understand. I don't give a shit. I really don't care about if it rigged, about this rigged situation, about a secret call between a senator and a call girl. I really don't care about how many arrests there's been at these college campuses for protests. I know that sounds like you're insensitive, but really, I don't think really anyone cares. I feel like we just see enough shit that we feel like if we see something enough. So if there's wiring in our head. If you're always seeing, if you're always being told or always being taught something, you know, if you're just being fed information about something, you want to have some type of feeling or opinion to feel alive. So I really think it kind of is forced on us. Like, I'm just looking up, like, I'm just sitting here sending PRs on the row machine. And I look up and it's this commercial, or not commercial, but it's this news report. Some along the lines of fucking, like, Nancy Pelosi's husband and something about another case. I don't fucking know. And I see people in my gym, like, looking up at these TVs, and you can see their face, like, nodding their head in disgust. And I'm just like, what makes you give a fuck about this guy in the middle of DC or Washington? Like, what does that have to do with your life? Like, it's really just not that intriguing to me. Like, I think the thing is maybe with me personally, and I think a lot of people could relate to this, is that, like, the silliness of life is more enjoyable than these self-made creations that are manufactured for PR, or they're manufactured to force you to have an opinion or thoughts that sway in between something, you know? Because it basically evokes a reaction that evokes either extremism or the other form of extremism. And if you're just someone that's just, I don't really care about this. Like, this thing is absurd. Like, we're having legitimate trials about a district attorney love affair These are tax dollars. These are juries that we are taken out of employment at their job to sit in a jury, to have, I don't know, is it called testifications or under oath of this curiosity of her relationship with a guy that's on her team, in her workplace. He does a CNN interview and then walks out middle way through because his team kind of does some weird shit. Like, it's all this stuff is self-made drama of uninteresting. And this is not what our founding fathers had in mind when we created due process. You know what? Sometimes there just shouldn't be a process. Sometimes not everything has to go to trial. Sometimes having people be on trial to hear two people's love life is not really necessary. And I guess you could say it's like with a Young Thug. Like this whole thing, apparently I think it was one of his lawyers, now they're going to prison or they're serving jail time because of their potential association with the slime life. It's really absurd when you say this shit out loud, you know. Now, his is a little bit more like, you know, RICO charges, drug distribution, murders, you know, yeah, that's a little bit different, serious situation. But the point is trials are not supposed to be the law. The news is not supposed to be this joke. And everything, and the reason why we have these people acting insane out here, because they know these news networks are going to give them attention, because extremism sells. People going crazy over nothing sells. I don't know why I'm talking about this. I fucking hate talking about this shit. Here's my political view of the day. Politics are a waste of time. Overall, with American-made politics are the biggest wasters to spend energy on. I hate to say it, your vote doesn't really matter that much. I know that's an unpopular opinion. Your vote doesn't really matter. Your opinions on politics don't really matter. Your opinion on the world issues don't really matter. Your opinion about what the president does or doesn't do doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's really not the president making these decisions. They're just the figurehead. They just speak to everyone. But there's a lot of other people that it's so built in that it doesn't really, they're just the figurehead. If they really made a difference, how come we've had the same issues for 30 years? How come we've had not really much change? Regardless of who's president or not, there's still wars. We still have issues between allies. It doesn't matter. No bill, no amount of money we send or hold on to is going to change these things. It don't matter if we have a woman as the next president. It don't matter if we have some 35-year-old CEO of Starbucks. Inflation ain't stopping. None of this shit's fucking stopping. So, I don't know. It just feels like politics, and I hate that term, right? You know, I used to always hear growing up, there's politics in sports, right? And youth sports. I didn't really understood what that meant. It's not about, you know, when you hear about it, right? Politics in sports. You hear that, and, you know, typically how parents would describe it, it's, oh, you know, that guy, his dad's a coach. that kid sucks. He can't fill the grounder, but for some reason he's starting over you. It's like, yeah, well, he can steal some bases. But it's oh, him and his dad is friends with that dad. That's why he got drafted and all. That's why he gets more playing time. This and that when this kid's better. Like, that's the type of politics. There's favoritism, and when you're younger, you're kind of like, whatever. But when you get older, you kind of see what it's talking about because it translates to everything. It translates to workplaces. There's favoritism in every facet. Every ladder of the pecking pole. Oh, she could peck my pole. Yeah. Actually, that doesn't even make sense. Actually, it kind of does. It's like Fenway Park, the pesky pole. You little pests. But there's politics, but really all it is politics really translates relationships. Relationships within, quote unquote, politics as we know it, is how people stay within reigns of power. It's how people stay in the loop. It's how people get donation funds, relationships in work environments. Everyone's had enough jobs. If you've had enough jobs, you work in a place. Certain people get favoritism. Some people don't. It's someone can call out, 5 times a month. Nothing really happens to them. But, if you call out one time in a 5-month span, it's this big ordeal. Do you have a doctor's? Oh, well, you need to give this head. You know the deal. Not everyone gets treated the same. It doesn't even matter if you're a really good employer or not. It's all about, do you have a personal relationship? Have you built a friendship? Have you built a kinship? To get on someone's good side where, you know what, you're given the benefit of doubt. You're always going to get backing no matter what. That's really what politics, when you break it down. Politics is not just politics, in terms of Congress, in terms of bills, Bill of Rights, in terms of laws and people in positions of power. It's really politics. Here's where I actually start talking about some 28 minutes in. Typically, people's political views, as we just did in America, is really a reflection of how their treatment in their everyday life of things that may apply to that. How their interactions with their family, how their interactions in their work environment, how their interactions when they go out and hang out with people. We'll just keep it simple. Friendships, family. I was trying to think of a letter F that applies to work, but I'll just say friends, family, factories. Let's just say friends, family, professionalism. There you go. Professional environment. Which most workplaces aren't professional. Let's be honest about it. But the idea is fun. It's really someone's reflection on politics in terms of, their party that they vote for. I'm not saying it's a reflection of how they view life, but it's typically a reflection of how they kind of have been treated fairly or unfairly in these environments. I think typically that's where our politics, in terms of, as we know it in America, what we call politics, is typically a reflection of our experiences in these, whether it's work, friends, or family, how we've been treated in those in situations that we connect with that. That's how deep-rooted we have feelings about that make us maybe have those passionate arguments or those passionate opinions about that stuff. Look at Clint connecting shit. Look at me thinking outside the buns of steel. Oh, I'll put my sesame seed in your bun. Nope. Sesame seed's overrated anyways, No one actually, like, if you were to taste a sesame seed bun compared to a non-sesame seed bun, you're not really, like, it's not really changing your world. But connecting it to, like, politics and sports, let's just keep it simple, right? Anyone that play youth sports or just anything moving up, if there's coaches, if it's attached to a school, if it's attached to a league, attached to anything that involves money, potentially, that involves families, that involve personal relationship boosters, fundraisers, and stuff like that. Not everything is going to be, quote unquote, who practices the best. Who's actually the best? That's not always what happens, right? And I think people's experiences with that, whether it has benefited them or has went against them, that is typically how they view the politics in terms of, as we know in America, laws and presidents and White House and all that stuff. You get these, we'll just say DC, right? That type of stuff. I really think that's where a lot of people's genesis of how they view the world, how they view that stuff. It's all attached to their experiences to that stuff. Were they treated fairly? Did they benefit from politics, quote unquote? And so, and the worst is when people are blind to how politics in those instances benefited them more than it didn't. But they want to act and go around like, oh, I've never benefited from it. Like, sure about that, bud? Like, being attractive, being a pretty girl, being an attractive man, being, physically fit, being someone of stature, being someone with nice features, being someone that people like to look, that people are appeasing to look at. If you don't think that benefits you, then, you're one of the ugly ones. I'm kidding, but not. Look, take the good with the bad. Politics is just, it's a part of the game that you choose. EA Sports. It's in the game. Yeah. Shout out to Gorilla Mod for having the best energy drinks in the game. Best smooth tasting. Legitimately. But yeah. That's my small 30-minute political take of the year. So, yeah. Anyways, what's going on in your neck of the woods? I haven't heard from that guy in a while. Al Roker. He got so skinny, he doesn't even have a throat. He got all that liposuction surgery, lost too much weight. Like, good for him, but he's more like Al Choker. Damn, that sounded like said Al Choker. That does not sound good. Oh my God, Clint. I literally just sounded like I choke women for a living. Or for enjoyment. I don't. I do not. I'll choke her for you in your neck of the woods. It's 48 degrees in Memphis. Yep, this show just took a dark, unexpected, digging myself out of a hole turn. Wrong turn. Last house on the left. So, yeah. Did you know Jennifer Lawrence used to be a Abercrombie and Fitch model? So, apparently, she did all the modeling shoots, but They never put her in. And when she asked her agency why, they sent her pictures of pictures they took. And apparently for the scenes, I guess on these photo shoots, they try to set a real environment so you catch natural images, So like if they were doing like throwing football on the beach, like, But she would describe it as, hey, it would be a lot of girls or guys that have never really thrown a football before, been around football, but they're having them throw, but it doesn't really look like people that play football. But, I guess growing up, she enjoyed watching football, so she had a good idea. So she actually tried to, give the mentality of football. Give it that, ugh. And apparently, she was like aggressively, grinning and attacking. Like fake, not really tackling the ladies, but, acting like she's going to tackle them. With, the mean mug face. And, guess she couldn't find the silver lining after all. Or maybe the silver lining is Abercrombie and Fitch is for the bitch in the ditch. I've never understood. Literally, I've never seen an Abercrombie Fitch outside of a mall. Malls are really disappearing, though, I think I've talked about that recently. Literally, the mall, honestly, if we're going to be honest about it, we could literally just have a mall. Just have the food court of the 3 different Japanese, Chinese places. Have a little pizza place. Have a Chick-fil-A. Have a random barbecue Shane's Rib. It seems like they all have random ass barbecue places over. Like, I do not want to go to a food court and spend $19. That's not what the food court's supposed to be designed. All right. I want questionable meat and put it in my mouth, Pause. Pay that bourbon chicken ain't going to eat itself. It all tastes the same, though. It's weird. It's wrong to say. It's wrong to say that all people of a certain race or religion or, oh, they all look the same. They all have the same features, It's like, but I will say one thing is true. All Chinese food court, it's all tastes the same. All takeout Chinese, honestly, all like the takeout places. Like if you get the same sauce of chicken, if you get the same General Tso, sesame, if you get the same fill in the flavor, there may be slight differentiation of what container it's in. They may put some random ass hot peppers in some. But if you get fried rice, white rice with that chicken, it's all literally the same company. And also, by the way, did you know 70% of motels are owned by 0.01% of the population? Because apparently, how motels were made is, you have a family, I'm not stereotyping. This is legitimately what I read and watched. It was an Indian family, okay? An Indian family that it wasn't a Days Inn or like a Super 8. It was a whole different thing back in 30s or whatever the fuck. They started motel, and since they lived there, they didn't have overhead in terms of cost of paying employees. They were the employees. They just lived in a couple rooms there, and everything was essentially profit, quote unquote. So they could charge the low $20 at the time, $30, $40 a night. It's probably cheaper than that. And so that's how motels were made or started. Which I really don't know. Like, honestly, the only difference between a motel and a hotel is, I guess, just the word motel, it just has like a poor man feeling to it. Like, it's not like there's, I haven't looked it up, but I have a feeling if you look up motel versus hotel, there's not really a technical difference, but you know the difference just when you hear it. Like, it's people, like, you could describe, like, we all know, like, what we see in a motel. It's typically 1 or 2 stories, low to the ground, cheap room, probably not the best bed sheets. You get what you pay for. It's nothing great, There's no elevators. It is what it is. A hotel, is typically, you walk in, oh, nice carriage service. Like, oh, you take this. It's like, oh, it's nicer. Motels is where you do, drugs and, stuff you would feel ashamed doing in your own home. It's always weird. Like, it's a real thing where people, because they don't want to do shameful things in their own home and live in that, they will legitimately rent out a motel to, like, literally rent a motel just miles from where they live to do some sketchy ass stuff like prostitution. Jesus, they are always around them, and they're not really that hard to find. Like, it's actually, I'm not saying from experience, all right, but I've been around environments. I've had a friend or two that admitted, like, hey, like, they would do it. Guys in my age at the time. It's like, bro, like, you're at the age, like, girls will accidentally want to, Michael Rainey you and sexually assault you. Which, by the way, in case you don't know, I think his name is Michael Rainey. He's a Ghost's son in Power. I forgot his actual name. I don't really watch the show, but I'm aware of the show. I'm aware of him. He's been in movies, Seems like a cool guy. But apparently he was on a live stream with someone, and the streamer's sister groped him. Yes. Like, groped him through his pants. And he did not like it. I mean, I don't think he threw like a fit about it, but he was uncomfortable. He said that should never happen. I felt uncomfortable. I felt sexually assaulted. Whatever. As he should. And it's a weird how there's actually a weird divide of like, oh, because it's like, well, it wasn't really the same because, like, it was this, that. Like, it's always, look, as someone that says, and I admit this, as someone that says that it's not the same, like, it should never, like, it's hard to explain. Like, it should never happen to you as a guy or a girl, especially. Like, it should never happen to you, but the sting or the effect it has on you as a guy doesn't really sit with you the same as it would a girl, right? It's like, it shouldn't happen. You'd be like, hey, please don't do that. It was wrong. You could be angry about it, but it's not some, like, you're going to be traumatized. Like, as a guy, I'm not going to be traumatized if a girl were to grope me inappropriately. As long as they don't, while I have a girl, I'm just saying, like, I wouldn't be happy with it. It's not some, you'd be like, ooh, it would be like, hey, what the fuck are you doing? And you acknowledge it's wrong. Tell them, hey, don't fucking touch me like that, ever. Like, shouldn't go around groping random people, This is a weird-ass conversation that just came up. But, like, it's not some that, like, I would be traumatized to be around other people thinking every person is going to do that. Now, as a girl, obviously, there's a lot more ramifications. There's your safety. There's, someone can grope you and you don't feel like you can defend yourself from potential things happening, blah, 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 unsafe situations. So I guess the point I'm trying to get here is it shouldn't happen. And the crazy part is that people will actually sit there and try to rationalize what she did. It's like, no, like, it shouldn't happen. And obviously, if the roles were reversed, it would be wrong. If the roles were reversed, that man's career would be shunned. Like, it's odd. Kevin Spacey is out doing all these interviews, admittedly groping guys, but because it's gay, it's like, whatever. Let's be honest. If it's a guy getting groped, no one takes it that serious, even if it was really against, right? But let's say he did that same thing. That dude would legitimately be having charges pressed on him. Probably going to jail if it was like, if they could prove it was with malintent. Like, that's the crazy part. Like, the dude would have to shun out a shitload of money. And the streamer, the girl's brother, the streamer is the brother. The girl is the sister of the brother. He's apologizing for her, but really she should be the one apologizing, right? I don't know, man. It's just crazy how, like, it's like a hard concept that it's wrong. And as someone that has said that is not the same in terms of power dynamic and how it sticks with you as a guy compared to a girl, it's crazy to think that people would try to sit there and be like, oh, he's mad because he got touched by a girl, like, because a girl was so into him that it's like the thing is especially when you are that of fame, or you are someone that has to worry about being targeted for a lot of things also. Like, he probably didn't feel she wanted to grope him because she has some crazy connection with him. It's literally just because the thought of his fame and a character he plays and just who he is to the public, that why she wanted to do it. Like, if it was someone, even if it was a stranger, but it was like, let's just say you were in public and it was a stranger that you were making strong eye contact, or you walk past and smirked and flirt, like, without saying much, and then they come by and touch you like that. Like, that's different because there was a sexual tension, there was a connection mentally, and all that gay stuff. But when it's just someone that you don't know and they just feel that comfortable touching you, and you gave them no even 1% of a idea that would be okay, that's where it's a problem. You gotta know when the grope. All right, take it from a groper. I'm kidding. I've never actually done that. Like, I've never even done anything close to that. I would be scared out of my mind to just grope a stranger. Like, that's just some crazy ass comfort and entitlement that you really feel like nothing could happen to you. Like, nothing could possibly bad happen to you from doing that. Like, nothing. Like, think about how crazy you have to be. But yeah, I guess I'll keep the groping to myself anyways. More like Oscar. Who needs Oscar the Grouch when you got Oscar the Groper? Yep. Al Groper. All right. I think I'm going to end this episode. The moral of today's episode is keep your hands to yourself. Keep your opinions to yourself. Just keep it all to yourself. Just keep it all to your fucking self. No one gives a fuck. Like, 9 times out of 10, sharing what you think about something to the world probably ain't going to work in your favor. as someone that just talked for 50 minutes sharing their thoughts to the world, it doesn't work in your favor. So yeah, that was episode 282 of the Offbeat Podcast with Clint Nelson. I'm your host, Clint Nelson. Don't forget to like, follow, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Most important, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to suck some titties and grope some genitalia. Please don't do that last part. Suck some titties consensually, but don't grope. Keep it to sucking the nips. I don't know why I emphasize that. Like it's like a safety PSA. Like, guys, keep it wrapped up. It's like, all right. Have a great day, morning, night, evening, aurora borealis, midsummer night's dream. I don't give a fuck. Yep. Meep. Alrighty. Somebody's watching me.